So, who really were the Anunnaki? Ancient gods? Alien visitors? Or just myths blown way out of proportion? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep, and I mean deep, into one of the most fascinating stories from ancient Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki. We'll be talking about their legendary kings, and of course, the two brothers who seem to be at the heart of everything, Enki and Enlil. And yes, we're starting with Enki, because, well, he's the kind of guy you'd probably want on your side. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's step into Sumerian mythology, or possibly, depending on how you see it, ancient history disguised as mythology. When people talk about the Anunnaki, the first name that usually comes up is Enki. Why? Because Enki isn't your typical storm-throwing, punishment-loving god. He's not the smite first, ask questions later type. Enki is clever, crafty, and surprisingly compassionate. In Sumerian myth, Enki was the god of water, wisdom, creation, and magic. He lived in the Abzu, that's the freshwater abyss beneath the earth, and his symbol was often the goatfish, which is a fancy way of saying, hey, this guy rules both land and water. But Enki's biggest claim to fame? He's credited with creating humanity, or at least, helping humanity survive. In some stories, the Anunnaki needed workers to maintain their cities and canals. Who steps up with a solution? Enki. He supposedly fashions humans out of clay and divine essence, giving them life and purpose. And when later on the gods decide to wipe out humanity with a flood, guess who warns the humans in secret? Yup, Enki again. You can see why people tend to like him. But here's the interesting part. If you look at these stories through a modern lens, a whole ancient aliens angle, Enki starts to look less like a mythical god and more like maybe a scientist or an engineer. Someone who tinkers, experiments, teaches. Could the myths be remembering some kind of advanced being who actually altered early humans? It's a wild idea, but it's part of why Enki's story still fascinates people today. Now let's zoom out a little. The Anunnaki weren't just a couple of famous gods. They were a whole group, sometimes described as those who came from the heavens. And in the ancient Sumerian king lists, you see something strange. They talk about kingship being lowered from heaven and rulers who reigned for thousands of years. Thousands of years. Either these kings had the best skincare routine in history, or we're looking at something symbolic, or something we just don't understand yet. Some researchers think these rulers were mythological archetypes. Others think they're memories of real people, or beings, who lived unnaturally long lives. In any case, the king list paints a picture of a divine order. The Anunnaki oversee humanity. Humans rule in their name, and society is basically a cosmic hierarchy. And right at the top of that hierarchy, two brothers, Enki and his less easygoing sibling, Enlil. If Enki is the crafty, sympathetic brother, Enlil is the strict, no-nonsense one. He's the god of air, storms, and authority. And let's just say, Enlil doesn't always come across as humanity's best friend. Where Enki warns humans about the flood, Enlil is the one who orders the flood. Where Enki likes to teach and nurture, Enlil likes to command and control. He's the kind of guy who would definitely send you an email at 5 a.m. saying, "We need to talk about your performance." But to be fair, Enlil wasn't just a villain. In Sumerian belief, he was the god who gave kings their authority. He was the stabilizer of civilization, the one who made sure things stayed in order, even if it meant being harsh. From his perspective, humans were noisy, chaotic, and disobedient. Sometimes, wiping the slate clean seemed like the best option. This brotherly tension, Enki the protector, Enlil the enforcer, runs through so many of these stories. And if you buy into the ancient astronaut theory, some people even say this was a real power struggle between two leaders of an advanced group that came to Earth. One wanted to help humanity grow. The other wanted to keep humanity controlled. So where does all of this leave us? Were the Anunnaki literal gods, mythological archetypes, or maybe ancient visitors who left their mark on early civilizations? Did Enki and Enlil really clash over the fate of humanity? And what about those impossibly long-lived kings? Were they just symbols of power, or something more? These stories are thousands of years old, but they're still incredibly alive today. They pop up in history books, in conspiracy theories, in pop culture. And maybe that's the point. Whether you see them as myth or as memory, the Anunnaki legends force us to ask big questions about where we came from and who might have been watching. So what do you think? Was Enki humanity's secret friend? Was Enlil just doing his job? And could any of this be real history hiding in plain sight? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient Mesopotamia, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next one.